Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through the notes on kites and triangle midsegments. At the end of this, you should be able to say, I can develop properties of kites. Okay, so first thing, what is a kite? A kite is a quadrilateral with two sets of congruent consecutive sides. So consecutive means they have to be in a row. So like these two are congruent and they're consecutive because they're right next to each other. These two are congruent and consecutive because they're right next to each other. These two are consecutive, but they're not congruent. But as long as we have two different sets, here's our first set and here's our other set, that makes this here a kite. Now, there's some special properties about kites. First thing, if you draw this diagonal WY, that actually creates two congruent triangles, which would be WXY would be congruent to triangle WZY. All right. Some more special properties. If you draw XZ here, XZ, the diagonal is actually going to be perpendicular to WY. That will always be true with this kite here, with any kite for that matter. And then XZ is also going to create two isosceles triangles. So XWZ would be an isosceles triangle and XYZ would be another different isosceles triangle. Okay. Another thing is that angle X and angle Z are going to be congruent because of the congruent triangle. So these two angles here will always be congruent to each other. Okay. And then one last thing, WY bisects both segment XZ. So that means that this segment right here is going to be the same congruent to this segment right here. And then also it cuts angle XWZ in half. So that means that this angle right here is going to be the same as that angle. And then this angle over here is going to be the same as this angle here. Okay, so it cuts those exactly in half. Okay, next thing we have is triangle midsegment. Okay, the triangle midsegment is a segment that connects the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. So this here, that right there, that is the triangle midsegment. Okay. All right, so that's this right here. Now there's some special qualities also about a triangle midsegment. The triangle midsegment theorem tells us that the length of the midsegment, that's this MN here, is going to be half the length of this third side. So that this here, and it's also going to be parallel to this side. So this is parallel, and also whatever MN is, if you double that, you'll get AC, or if you take half of AC, that'll give you what MN is. Okay, so twice MN is equal to AC, or half of AC is congruent to MN. All right. All right. Those are sides. So these measures would work. Put measures in there. That makes it a little bit better. Okay. So we're going to take a look at an example, but first, let's take a little comedy break.
Poor kids. Bedtime is a crisis. That's why I'm here right now. It's too hard. They act like they've never been to sleep before. Bed? What's that? No, I don't want to do that. Then it becomes some hostage negotiation, but in reverse. Look, if you stay in there, I will give you whatever you want. I will meet your demands. What do you want, a helicopter to Cuba? Anything. Just stay in there. There's always one awake. Like they're taking shifts. All right, I'll annoy him from midnight to 2. Who wants 3 to 6? Now let's lie down and practice kicking him in our sleep.
All right. Let's take a look at one example here. So KL is the midsegment of triangle HIJ. So here's our KL, and that's the midsegment. We're going to find three different things. KI, which is this segment, this piece right here. And we're going to find KL, which is the midsegment. And we're going to find LJ as well. Okay. So since Ki we know is, let's see, Ki right here, this is the, KL, this is the midpoint. K is the midpoint of this line IH, right? So it's the segment that connects the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. So if this is the midpoint and this is 6, guess what? This is also going to have to equal 6. Okay, because it's right in the middle, so whatever this is, that's going to be the same as that as well. KL, right here, we can figure this out because this mid-segment here is always going to be half of this parallel side right here, which is down below underneath that. So KL is going to be 21 divided by 2, which is 10 and a half. Okay, and then to find LJ, we know, again, this point L is the midpoint of IJ, so that means we know that IL has to be congruent or equal to, since it's the measure of, to the measure of LJ. Okay, so measure of IL is 2x, and we know that 2x has to equal 3x minus 5. All right, so let's do this. Subtract 3x from both sides. We get negative x equals negative 5, so positive x is going to equal positive 5. So LJ is this 3x minus 5, right? So we'd have to plug 5 back in. So 3 times 5 is 15 minus 5 gives us that LJ has to equal 10. Okay. All right. Well, that's all there is for kites and triangle mid segments. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask in class. Thanks.